And we are live.
As the clock strikes 7, the vibes alive. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. In a circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone. In a circle podcast where love is well known.
Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, March 5th. Today is our business segment, so we have a very, very important topic for you: inflation impact on our communities. Welcome to the Inner Circle podcast, where we amplify voices, share real stories, and tackle the issues that shape our communities. I'm your host, Abe Kamara, and I have my usual Wednesday panelists here, the business expert, the change makers, the movers and shakers, in our business, in our community that are doing business. So tonight we are discussing inflation. As you know, right, it's like prices are so high. So we're trying to discuss how is it impacting our communities. And then now with the new administration, right, there's a whole different dynamic with tariffs. It's like on tariffs on Canada, on China, on Mexico. I learned the other day, right? If you are in the market to buy a car in the next 2 months, that might be extra 12K. So many things. When you go to the grocery store, you take few items, it's like seven, it's like $300. You say, but what is in the grocery cart, right? I'm paying all that money. So our topic tonight is inflation impact on our communities, on the immigrant community. And again, I'm your host, Abe Kamara. You can follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, uh, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so follow this show, follow your community show. So with that, we will introduce our panelists here quick, and we'll jump right into things. My man JS, welcome. Introduce
Thank you.
yourself. Yeah.
Thank you. I go by Jerry. I'm from Minnesota, Shakopee. Um, I'm super excited to be here, and thank you, A, for having me on again.
Man, this is your platform. This is your show. Come and always share some great ideas, your entrepreneurial knowledge, things like I know you're a hustler, man. You got a lot of great ideas and great and great stuff to share with our community. So, Jerry, welcome to the show again. Introduce yourself quick to our listeners, and then we'll jump right into things.
I'm
Jerry,
Jerry.
okay.
Thank,
Yeah, go ahead.
thanks for having me on again. Second, my first child is doing the most.
Okay, you good?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. Okay, Miss B.
Good evening, everyone. It's your girl, Miss B. We here again. Let's do this, y'all.
Okay. So again, folks, you can to participate, you can always call our number 817-600-1525, or you can put a comment in the chat. How's your personal economy? How's inflation impacting you? Are you in the market to buy a house, to buy a new car? When you go to the grocery store, how much are you paying? And how are you managing in these times? So it's like prices, man, as I said, they are so high. Interest rate is high. and other stuff. So tonight we are going to see how is that impacting our community. So Miss B, I will start with you, right? How is inflation, affecting your community, your household?
Oh my gosh. So, as an investor, property owner, it's been hard to sell one of my properties trying to offload, right? So, because of the high interest rate, even though it's a cheap property, it's still expensive. And then when you think about if you have a townhome or a condominium,
Mhm.
HOA prices are ridiculously high as well these days, right? And so inflation is kicking my butt. And my family loves eggs. And so eggs is a very hot commodity right now.
Are you guys not finding eggs in the store when you guys go there?
No, we went to Sam's Club and they literally opened the big box of eggs and was rationing it out to customers, saying you can only take like one tray out of the box each. I was like, wow. And that's the last box I saw when I went to the Sam's Club. I was like, it's serious out here. So
Oh, wow.
eggs.
That is shocking to me anyway. I'm not a big egg person, right? Yeah, but Jerry, man, how's inflation treating your household?
It's tough. And Miss B, I have a plug for eggs, so we can talk offline. We can talk
Please,
offline.
please. You raising some chickens? Let me come. Let me come get some eggs.
But on a serious note, man, it's been crazy. I feel like income has is stagnant.
Hmm.
Prices have gone high. Prices are so high right now that it's hard to even keep up with stuff. If you go to
Hmm.
the store, your the value of your paycheck is it's the purchasing power has significantly declined.
Mm.
That when you go out to shop or buy anything, you can barely keep up. So I would say it's been hard on
Okay.
our family.
Have you like in terms of I know that like, you say you are I mean you are the CFO in your household. Have you been able to cut down on some stuff or do some put some other financial strategies together just to make sure that you can cope that your household can cope within these times? Is there any extra thing you guys are doing? Have you cut back on like maybe travel, maybe like movies or things that to
hmm
yeah.
I mean, for the most part, sometimes you have to adjust, right? So
Mhm.
we for a lot of I didn't even notice it, but I signed up for this app, for instance, like Rocket Money, whatever app,
Yeah.
and I had a lot of subscriptions I had to cut down.
Okay. Hmm.
We didn't need all the subscriptions.
Okay.
We've come up with a strategy to pay off high interest credit cards.
Yeah.
We also looking into maybe borrowing from our own personal
Hmm.
investment to
Hmm.
knock down some of the bills so we can free up some cash because that monthly interest rate it almost feels like you keep paying that interest
Yeah.
every month and you running in circles. So these are the strategies that we've kind of looked into to tackle
Yeah.
some of the bills so we can get by.
Okay. Jerry, as an entrepreneur, how's inflation treating you? As an entrepreneur, how's that treating you, Jerry?
With me being in real estate, I've noticed a decrease in people that are interested in buying or selling their homes right now.
Mm.
Because a lot of the people that have homes don't want to sell because they want to hold on to the low interest rate, and
Yeah.
people are afraid to buy because the interest rates are so high. So
So
it's been slow on that end.
yeah. So those of your customers, right, that are sitting on the sideline waiting to buy, are they hoping that interest rate might go down?
Yeah, they're hoping eventually that things will kind of like stabilize and go down eventually at some point.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
Okay. And as a mother, then it's like Miss B was talking about egg prices. Is there anything that you that is is there anything when you go to the grocery store, right? That maybe it's a must have for the kids, but it's like maybe you have to think twice before putting them in those carts.
I don't know. I'm terrible when it comes. I don't. I just buy stuff.
Oh, you want to know that just buys? You want to know that? Okay.
Prices,
And
honestly, I don't know. I just have my budget. I know I'm staying within this budget, but I
okay.
noticed that like I've gotten way less things as compared
Mm,
to like a few months back with the money that I usually spend for groceries.
okay. Okay, Miss B, right? Like a lot of folks in our communities work two jobs, right? Just to make ends meet, right? Sometimes just to make it. How you think the current environment, the current inflationary environment is impacting them? Are folks, having to work like double just to maybe like, I mean, rent, even rent is very high, right? Like I remember back in the days, a few years ago, right? You used to find like maybe 1,100 and 1,200 apartment in the Broken Park or Broken Center area, but now it's hard. How do
So
you
you
think it's
know,
impacting our community?
even worse because even prior to inflation and and prior to the pandemic, somebody working in a nonprofit and partner with organizations like the food shelf, they were saying that they're being overextended, right, as far as their ability to have enough food at the food shelves. And they're
Hmm.
seeing customers, not homeless people, but two income households who are depending on the food shelf as a way to supplement their budget and be able to provide groceries for their
Hmm.
household. And so I can just imagine now with these even more extreme times, some
Hmm.
food shelves are saying that they're having to turn people away. They themselves are, and especially food shelves dealing with federal budgets, right? People are at
Yeah.
risk right now not being funded. And so therefore I can just imagine it even quadrupling, getting worse for families. And we're talking families with two incomes. With two
Okay.
people working in the households and two incomes coming in are still really struggling and utilizing food shelves, donation places to kind of supplement providing stuff for their households.
Yeah. And Jared, then, right, is like for us, I mean, so now we immigrants would love to venture into business. How do you think that is affecting, small businesses, right? Is like how do you think the current inflationary environment is affecting small businesses?
Is it for me or him?
Yeah, 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 Jerry, yeah. Yeah, it's for you. It's
Okay.
not for you, it's for you, yeah.
Well, I feel like it's affecting everyone, honestly. Things
Hmm.
are hard and
Hmm.
people are like stretching their dollar. Because I also do the consultation thing on the side, and I've had people reach out to me lately. It's like they really want to do the business. However, it's always the money aspect that's holding them back.
Mm,
It's like, okay, I really want to do this. However, when I pay all my bills and I do this and most of these people have 2, 3 jobs
mm,
and they cannot even afford my consultation fees, not alone even have the money to even start a business.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Okay. So, Jay, how do you think, like, the whole, as I said, right? I come back to the whole dynamic thing. A lot of people in our communities, right? As I asked Ms. B earlier, right? Is that sometimes it's not only, I mean, the one job is not enough, right, to pay all the bills. And then sometimes we have side hustles, right? How do you think, like, in this kind of environment, can we juggle all of those things and still be able to like maintain our mental health? I mean, financially. I mean, we talked about mental health a lot here last month, right? How do you think, with the current environment, maybe like some folks working two jobs and still struggling to either, media needs. How are they trying to balance all of these things during these times?
Um, it is kind of hard to try to balance things out when you know it's for the most part, I mean, mental health and money. I mean, I guess it depends on who it's all relative, right? If somebody
Mhm.
can have a lot of money, but their problems are, they may have rich people problem, right? Whereas people without money, all they want to do is have money, right? So I guess when you get to that level, um, it's kind of, you got to figure out what's best for you and how you can make yourself happy. But in relation to inflation and money and mental health, I think they're all connected. Money can make you frustrated. Like if you don't have money, you can be frustrated, and you can spend a lot of time chasing money, doing three jobs, and you're still frustrated because you don't have time to enjoy your money, right? So when it comes down to situations like this, it's always about trying to find a balanced lifestyle. Like when is enough, and how can you make enough to sustain your lifestyle?
Mm.
I think that kind of helps with that mental aspect of it because, to my
Yeah.
point, you can work hard. And we immigrants, we work very hard, right? But the challenge is, sometimes, we kind of get into this autopilot and feel like, okay, let me work hard because I have this opportunity here. I want to work hard. But the reality is, you putting too much time in without focusing on, um, you know, at some point you're gonna hit a wall,
Yeah.
and that's when you start to kind of go down the hill.
Sure.
Without if you don't take care of yourself mentally. So I think
Okay.
they are connected. So
Okay. I mean, like Miss B though, like the basic necessities, right? Like food, shelter, and clothing. All these things are so pricey right now. They're so pricey. These are not things that you can put off, right? It's like if this, you can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to buy food," especially if you have a family. You can't say, "Oh, I'm not going to put roof over my head." If you have a house, right, the maintenance is high. You know, when you call a contractor to come fix something on your house, when they call the price to you, you wonder to yourself, "Man, really?" When you're a renter, it's like the rent every year your landlord is jacking that thing up. How are we supposed to, right? Bear all of those pressures in these times?
And like we were talking about earlier, this whole supply and demand thing, but you have to think about the fact like people's inability to afford their needs, let alone their luxury, causes things to go up. Because right now, I don't have enough people to buy my products, right? That
Mm,
too is a problem because not a lot of people have that income. And so, what am I going to do? I'm going to try and capitalize on the 10 people that are able to buy my product by taking my price up too as well, right? So that too causes price gouging to happen, right? Where I don't have enough people on the market with the necessary income to buy my products. And you got to think about like people with the side hustles or even our micro businesses where you're running your business full time. If I'm a hairstylist right now, I'm probably struggling because getting my hair done every 2 weeks and getting a hairstyle that lasts me a month or 2 months, which one do you think I'm about to be doing right now? That 2 month hairstyle, right? I'm going to get the braids versus the quick weave,
mm,
and I'm not going to be in the shop. So we look at the things that are needs and what are wants, right? And even in the grocery store, do I
mm,
buy my organic? Do I buy my non-GMO or do I go for that generic brand to be able to buy more for my grocery dollars to expand? So those are
mm,
some of the ways people are being creative
mm,
to still be able to afford the things that they want to buy and they need.
mm.
Right now, it's not even an option. Options are wants are not even an option. I know for us, we love to travel, and right now, my family is like depressed because spring break is coming up, and I told them we're gonna stay and explore Minnesota.
Oh
And
man, okay.
so those are some of the ways that we're cutting back. They don't want to go see a play; they want to go out of town.
Okay. Uh, Jerry, I know you just recently traveled, right? Like, if you like during this, I think, I mean, like airline tickets, or maybe even when you like, I mean, hospitality, I do like hotels and other stuff. Are they getting expensive? I mean, it's like, I mean, not that they're getting right, they're expensive, right? Like when you travel, when you go to these places, right? Are you
Yeah.
cutting down on like going out a lot, or maybe just staying at the hotel and things like that?
Yeah, so I like to be smart with how I
Mhm,
go about with my travel. A
mhm.
lot of the times, like she mentioned spring break, like
Yeah.
we do spring break. So instead of going somewhere far where I have to get the airplane, we're gonna get on the train and go to Chicago this year because it's
Oh,
cheaper.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the
Okay.
trip to NOLA was with friends, so we split everything so it wasn't so costly.
Mm,
And
mm,
then I've had some points with the airline, so I didn't have to spend a bunch of money on airline tickets. So just looking for different ways to be smart and look that
mhm,
will help you save. I feel like
mhm.
helps a lot.
Okay. Yeah, and Jay, right? Our community sometimes, I mean, is that we like to be flamboyant, something, especially with the whole social media environment where we want to show off that things are happening for us. and things like that. But how can we be smart in these times, right? To make sure, right? Not only are we trying to meet our basic needs, but sometimes like trying to maybe put some stuff aside for those rainy days, for emergencies and things like that, because those might, those can always come around.
Uh, you know, I feel like our community, especially those that usually um come to America, they
Mhm,
think it's paradise. I mean, there's opportunities here. Don't get me wrong, but usually when we come here,
mhm,
um, we tend to spend a lot, especially on cars. Like you
mhm.
see people driving big cars that they can't afford.
Yeah.
Doing 9 to 5, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you can afford it, that's fine. But for
Mhm,
the most part, if you if you are trying to get by or trying to make it, and you
mhm.
have a car note close to your paycheck at the end of the month, and you're doing something wrong. And like you said, a lot of times we love to
Yeah.
show off. So
Mhm,
don't just cut your coat according to your size. Don't do too much. Stick with the
mhm,
plan.
mhm,
You got to have a plan, and you have to execute it. By
mhm.
by doing what? By just taking it easy, one day at a time. Plan ahead, set goals, and that's all you can do. But I've been there before, where here I am, like just spending, and I don't even make much,
Yeah.
but here I am because I want to show off. And it's the community thing. You driving big cars and you want to show off and all that, but then again, when it's time to pay the bills, you're looking at your paycheck and you look at the bills and you're like, oh my goodness, like, is this even worth it?
Mhm.
But the reality is this, man. Sometimes we got to go through certain things
Yeah.
to really that helps you make good decisions. They say experience is the best teacher. I can only speak on it and educate our brothers and sisters to make the
Mhm.
right decisions. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they still have to go through the process and
Yeah.
come out of on top. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, one of my favorite, right, is like, someone working in a good home or nursing home, driving a 2025 Range Rover or living in an apartment and driving and driving a 2025 Range, right, and things like that. And then, man, I'm wondering, it's like, man, how much are you paying for those Range, man? It's like, but hey, you gotta, I mean, some be living
yeah,
it up. Or Miss B though, right, is like with that kind of, if you have that kind of a lifestyle, are people with, especially with a kind of an inflationary environment, are folks like party on a lot of debts. I mean, we talked about credit card earlier and things like that. Are folks kind of maybe like just to maintain those lifestyle? Are they like trying to get into debt and things like that?
And to be honest, that's the difference between the haves and the have-nots. The haves are really holding their money. They're
Mm,
watching their purse strings right now, right? I follow what's his name, Warren Buffett, and he has like $10 billion. I think he is
in
just
cash,
holding,
in cash.
yeah, that can be
Mm-hmm.
spent, but he has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to spend it on right now, right? Or he's choosing to hold that money too, because
Mm-hmm.
they themselves are, are being influenced by the impact of inflation. For me, like I said, as an investor, I want to offload a property and put on a property, but I'm being very cautious of interest rate. That's my holdup. I don't want to buy anything. The interest rate is too high, especially the highest interest rate I had was 5%. So I'm kind of like spoiled. I'm like, who's buying in this 6%, 7% interest rate economy,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then it's actually, so you have people who can afford to buy but are not buying, which is
Mm-hmm.
impacting again, having
Mm-hmm.
those other impacts as well. So for me, we're being conservative in what we're doing and how we're investing because times are tough.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to do too much.
So what are you telling the community, right? I mean, are you telling our community folks to be conservative? So I mean, not to buy the extra stuff. If you can hold off on some stuff, hold on to it until when?
I just want to remind people of what when we say, "Oh, I can afford it." It's not, "Oh, as long as the next check comes, then I'll be okay," because you never know what can happen. Sometimes you may get injured or you can be sick. And middle class, on average, in this country is $56,000 to $169,000 annually.
Mm,
And the reality is, not a lot of our community is even making that 56,000, but they're living $56,000 budget lifestyles. Unfortunately, hey,
okay.
let's be real. If you're out here driving Maserati, Mercedes Benz, Range Rover, and you're not making $85,000
Hmm.
annually or more, you're not affording your lifestyle. You're living paycheck to paycheck. And when times like this are happening, yes, stop it. Like just take care of your needs and just hold off on your wants.
Okay. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing the impact of inflation on our community. I mean, prices are so high. If you go to the grocery store, prices are high. I mean, it's been mentioned earlier, the price of egg. I didn't know like Sam Club was rationing eggs, right? That's a first for me. I don't know which Sam Club you went to, maybe the one in Broken Park or whatever. But I've not seen the rationing of eggs and things like that. But hey, that's a first for me right there. So tonight we are discussing the impact of inflation. Car prices are high, rent is high. If you own a home or you're trying to buy a home, interest rates are so high. So everything is so high right now compared to that just like few years ago. Before COVID, things were not this high. But right now, I mean, things are very, very high. And our community, most of us, as Ms. B mentioned earlier, right, do not make that 100K a year. So it's like, how are we managing under these times? So you can contribute to the conversation, by calling our number 817-600-1525, or you can put a comment in the chat, or if you have a question, or you have for our panelists, or you have a contribution to make, we welcome you. You can put it in the chat. But like most of us, right, Jerry, right, send like remittances back home, right? We have people who support extended family or friends. How do you think we are managing those, right? It's like, sending money back home. Do you think maybe that if you, when it comes to certain things, what, that's the first thing I'm going to cut. I'm not going to send any money back home. Do you think folks are doing that in our community? Because man, I mean, it's like, it's hard.
Yeah,
Times are hard.
you have to.
Okay.
You have to. I mean, so I basically set funds up on the side, let's say monthly or weekly,
Mm-hmm.
direct, withdraw from my account to a send app.
Mm-hmm.
And, every month I can send some money home. But, I went home in December.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Dubai and I went to Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, my lifestyle changed. Like 2 years ago, 3 years
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
I go home and I don't even care. I'm like,
Okay.
how much is this? I've taken it. This time
Okay.
around, I went home and I was like counting every dime. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing the conversion and exchange rate, looking at it like I had to do it all because back in the days, it's like that dollar, the value was can do a whole lot. Now you go
Mhm.
home and it's like, wait, that's it. Like you take $100 out, you exchange that money, and it's all gone.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have to cut back. And I've had these discussions with my people that
Mm-hmm.
hey, it's hard out here. So every time I send something home, you guys better manage because it's those days are over that I really don't care how much I sent. Now I'm kind of counting all my coins, making
Mm-hmm.
sure that I'm allocating my dollars where it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest, I could put that money somewhere where it
Okay.
could work for me, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
At the same time, you have people home that care, you care about, and you know how
Yeah.
it is back home. So you
Yeah.
have to figure out how to send them money, but at the same time educate them to see the value in whatever you send. It's not how much you send; it's about them making the best use of it. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's up to us to kind of educate them to be on the right path because they don't really know how hard. A lot of times we working hard. Look how cold it is. Did you see the snowstorm the other day?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy out here. So
Yeah.
you know, now I don't play with my money, man. If I'm sending money, it has to be for a good use or for a good cause.
Okay. Okay. Jerry, it's like with the new administration, right? Like in these times where a lot of people kind of maybe like when times are high, prices are high, sometimes some folks depend on government assistance. But man, it's like those things like you're having funding freezes, you're having things getting cut back. How are folks, I mean, it's like those that are maybe struggling to make ends meet, how are they even supposed to maybe like when we talk about food stamps, housing assistance, how are they supposed to manage when you can't tap those resources anymore? Gary.
It's gonna be crazy. That homeless shelter is about to get crowded.
Well, the homeless shelter is about to get crowded.
Yeah, and homelessness is about to increase, and all of those things it's gonna get worse before it gets better. That's
Mm,
that. That's just what's gonna happen.
You're expecting things to get worse before you get better.
Exactly. With all of the changes that's going on with this new administration, I know he don't have bad intentions, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just gonna like a lot of people gonna get affected in the
Mm-hmm.
process
Mm-hmm.
before things start to before they start falling in place again.
Okay, Ms. B, you are in the nonprofit space. You wanna add to that? I mean, how to like funding freezes, the assistance that people depend on, right? When times are hard, even if you're working two jobs and you can't make it, sometimes you want to rely on government assistance. So maybe you know what, I can't. America. The great thing about America, right, is I mean the social safety net is great. It's one of the best in the world, right? But in these times, sometimes folks like to you know, look to the government a little bit, to help, but you have funding freezes, programs are being cut, do you want to weigh in on that?
So like people probably don't understand sometimes the way like government gets the federal government gets their money. So federal government, your taxes trickle up, they don't trickle down. So when I say your taxes trickle up, you as the residents and citizens of the state of Minnesota, you pay taxes, right? And then the state of Minnesota sends those funds to the federal government. And then the federal government then decides, okay, based on everybody's needs, we're going to give this state this amount of money back in federal resources. And
Mhm.
oftentimes what happens is the state of Minnesota, we're a really thriving state. We get less back than we even give to the federal government. So I know some legislatures, they're threatening here and there, like, well, what about we refuse to give them our money, right? So then therefore we have more to provide resources to the things that we want to take care of in the state of Minnesota. And
Mhm.
so right now what people are being very mindful of is that how many of those federal dollars are being allocated to these nonprofit organizations so the state can have money be allocated to these things to put more money into housing, pour more money into the food shelf, but they just have to be mindful how many of those dollars are actually going in our federal dollars that are going towards these different systems or departments within the state. So that's
Mhm.
really what states are really trying to look at right now, because the federal government is saying certain things we don't want to fund anymore, especially
Mhm.
if it's going to be something that says straight off, I'm only catering to Black or I'm only catering to Latino. The federal government is like,
Mhm.
no, that's racist. The nerve, right? But the federal government is saying, no, that's racist and that's discriminatory. We don't want to fund nonprofit organizations that are going to be gender specific, if they're going to be race specific or ethnic specific, right? So those are the things I know the state of Minnesota is being mindful of, and it's still funding things, because but this is the first time, God, we might not end up with a surplus in God knows how many decades, right? In the state of Minnesota, we might be looking at a budget deficit for the first time. So things are looking different. They're looking a lot different. But I'm still happy to be in the state of Minnesota because we manage money well here, right, Jay?
Okay, I don't think folks in Pennsylvania will agree with you, or folks in Texas, or folks in Florida will agree with that assessment. But hey, or folks even in Iowa or North Dakota will agree with that assessment. They will say
Assessment of how
Minnesota.
we're managing money well here.
Yeah, they will say Minnesota is a very liberal state. You guys just Detroit money and all kinds of things. But we don't
In the
want to get
midst
into
of
that.
pandemics, we have back-to-back surpluses,
But you don't want to get into that.
$17.5 billion
But
surplus.
yeah,
Why they
yeah.
didn't
But
have money to do what it needed to do.
okay, but Jay, though, right? Let's go to Stefan point here, right? And I think you raised the thing earlier. How sometimes we worry so much about money and we just forget about. But at the end of the day, right, man, you're not going to. You are not. I know times are hard. I know there's inflation, right? It's like you're trying to make your business need, but man, but I think you alluded to that earlier. Just live, right? Just worry about maybe life insurance and stuff like that. The rest of it, man, the rest of it, the rest of it, just live, right? If you're worried about like interest rate is going to be 10%. What is Trump going to do? What's Congress going to do? Man, just get your life insurance, and that's the one that's going to bury you and leave some stuff with your kids. Why are you going to why be worried about all that stuff? What's your reaction to Stefan here?
Oh man, he's speaking my language actually.
Yeah, okay.
To be honest,
Yeah.
the way the market is going
Mhm.
on right now,
Yeah.
you know, things are up, tomorrow things are down. You check your 401k, you think you're making so much money.
Mhm.
We end up putting money in our savings account. inflation impact.
Mm-hmm.
We put money in checking account. And to be honest, I don't even understand why people put money in savings account when the banks turn around and just, use that same money to buy life insurance. So
Okay.
think about it. US Bank, Wells Fargo, those big players, they all have life insurance policies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is when times are hard, they can just go borrow from their own account. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I'm not saying don't get checking, don't get savings account. Save 6 months tops. But the rest of it, let that money work for you. Put that money in, like my man Stefan said, in life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That way, that money you guaranteed um, a maximum, and you don't lose it to a certain point, right? So and then on top of that, you are actually buying yourself a face amount. So if you decide to say, okay, I'm saving $20,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something happens to you, that's all you get, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you decide to invest in, say, for instance, like you said, life insurance policy, you may end up buying like 100,000 or 150, $200,000 policy.
Okay.
A lot of times our community thinks life insurance is like after you die, but the reality is it's things happen, and when that thing, when whatever happens, you'll be secured. And in this case, we are in this inflation times,
Mm-hmm.
like stock market going up and down. Diversify. Put your money in
Mm-hmm.
annuities. Put your
Yeah.
money in life insurance. There are a lot of asset classes out there that we can
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of. So, I definitely agree with my man. Is it Marbury?
Yeah, yeah, Stefan, yeah. So man, I mean, I'm glad that you brought the stock market up, right? I feel like, and I felt like over, I mean, for a long time, right? I think like prices were so high. I mean, it's like the stock market, being in 40s. I think like it's just been, like the asset, right? Assets have been so high, the prices of things have been so high and things like that. So I think like, the stock market as a whole needed some corrections. I don't know whether that's what's coming. I mean, that's what coming. But right, most folks in our community as well do rely on 401ks. How, Jerry, how do you think that's going to impact them, right, with the market? I mean, I'm not saying it's going to crash, but there's going to be corrections. How can folks protect themselves? I mean, in these kind of times, Jerry.
I would say just the little changes in your lifestyle. I'm not saying investment is wrong or anything, but when we're going through like inflation all these times, is your day to day life that's being affected,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like looking for ways to like we're talking about needs and wants. How
Mm-hmm.
can you cut down things that are not so important that will help you save more in other areas and other aspects of your life? So just those simple things like for example, if you're somebody who loves to go out a lot to eat, you reduce it to maybe once or twice a month. Or maybe you do a no spend month. Just these simple things will help you save money. That way you can use this money to maybe invest in your 401k or maybe in life insurance or
Mm-hmm.
whatever in the stock market. But it start with the small things first before we start looking at the big things.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people all the time because
Okay.
if you can know your finances on the smaller scale, how can you even invest?
Okay. That's good. Miss B, I know we have graduation season coming up, and I know African parents like to go all out. You know what I mean? It's like a high school kid is graduating. I mean, sometimes you see some of the parties, you wonder to yourself, say, man, what's going on here? Are they getting a PhD or something? You know what I mean? What's the advice you're having for parents who are having kids, about to graduate from high school, those big parties in these hard times? What would be your advice to them?
Before you take $10,000 and invest it, and believe me, that's how much you're spending at minimum, because you got
On
to
these
think the
parties, on
whole.
these graduation parties?
Yes,
On graduation
yes.
party? Oh wow.
Yes, because just think, at minimum, a hall is averaging 4,000, 6,000. By the
Okay.
time you factor in to feed people, right? You're
Mhm,
you're doing another 5, 6,000. So
mhm,
just say at minimum, at best,
mhm,
if they can
mhm,
really get that budget worked out, they're spending $10,000 on this graduation party. Oh, my child has done this, and I have colleagues from India, and they're like, what really did they accomplish by graduating from high school? And
yeah,
when they said that, I was like, oh, wow, they're right, though. Like, what have they really accomplished by graduating from high school, right? They still
mhm,
can't take care of themselves, technically. They
mhm,
can't get a job. that's going to take care of themselves, you're still taking care of them. So if you're spending that money on that party, do you have money for them to go to college? We're not even helping our kids pay for college. Just think the money you just spent in August or June or July for that party, and come September now, they need to go to school. You don't even have one semester worth, or at least a percentage of semester worth, to help them
Mhm.
to go to college, right? Don't
Mhm.
do it. Don't do it. Don't even buy the car. If you can't, don't even buy the car, because if they're going out of state for school, they don't need the car. And if they're staying here in town, let them learn how to take public transportation. Prepare your kids for success by not helping them to show them how to get into debt. That's what I would tell parents. Stop having these lavish graduation parties. Don't do it.
I mean, well, especially again, some of these guys, and you said the hall is expensive, but sometimes the food can
Yes.
be very expensive. And as immigrant, we are communal people, so sometimes like folks will have to be overburdened to, you have to prepare food or you have to bring a gift and all those things. But Jerry, what will be a message to parents who are preparing for graduation season? In this kind of inflationary time, should they go ahead and spend those $10,000 or something?
Let it
Jerry.
be like mom who just took us to the restaurant to eat after the
Mhm.
polio
I
day.
know, right? Back in our time.
Oh, you should. Let's just do the restaurant thing, what, the Chinese buffet or something.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
did. We didn't do any big
Okay,
parties.
G, let me let you take this one. These two females, they're entrepreneurs, right? They want to put that in an investment. G, let me let you take the. Our community love to do these kind of things, right? Have the lavish parties, lavish graduation. What's your advice, Jay? What do you think, parents that have kids graduating from high school? What should they do?
Listen to Miss B and jury, because I agree with them. Like, I mean, high school parties. Like, come on, you know,
Yeah,
these are, I mean, and I know, you know, people have money and they can do whatever the hell they want with that money, But for me,
Mhm,
if I if I know my kid will be graduating in 5 years and it's gonna cost me 10K, I'm putting that money somewhere with compound interest, you know, and
mhm,
maybe fast forward 5 years later, I can take some of that profit and do some Chinese buffet, something with
mhm,
him and his friends,
mhm,
or maybe throw that party. But um, just to come up with a cold hard cash to for a party with, and that's how I'm wired, right? I'm thinking about, okay, how can this money work for me? Um, so for me, I'm looking at it like I can take this money, put it somewhere, let it grow, and maybe I could do whatever I want to do with it. But
mhm,
if I don't have that in the cards, it'll be hard for me to just take a $10,000 and just throw a party,
mhm,
especially when you have college, right, knocking at the door.
mhm. Okay. So, folks, tonight we are discussing inflation impact on our communities. How is inflation affecting immigrant community? In these times, as I said, grocery prices are high, food prices, rent, housing, cars. I mean, everywhere you go, travel, hotels, everything seems to be so expensive compared to what pre-pandemic, right? Things were so cheap. Now it's like everything like double or triple. I mean, it's like somewhere in Broken Park or in this part of Minnesota, they're rationing eggs. I didn't know that, right? Because like, eggs, like eggs prices are so high and things like that. But so folks, you can contribute to the conversation, right? By putting a comment in the chat or call our number 817-600-1525. Or Miss B, how can our community, right, come together in these times, right, to support one another? How can we come together as a community to support one another? What can we do?
I think Andrea, said it well. Like, I get the Minneapolis Business Journal, and it amazes me. Like, there's never a time where I'm reading about a white entrepreneur and they started the business by themselves.
Mm,
So many of us think that I'm going to become a millionaire overnight by just starting a business. It's the right direction, but it's not going to happen overnight. There's
mm,
no elevator to wealth, right? We all have to
mm,
take the stairs and climb it one stair at a time. But what I'm always telling people is you don't have to do it alone. I know people like, oh, I don't want nobody to eat my money. I don't want nobody to take advantage of me. But just think, you're going to have to go probably after person till you find the right partner who's
Mm,
passionate about that business like you and who
mhm,
has the resources to give something. I
mhm,
just think if I have $15,000 to invest, that's
mhm,
3 different buckets I can invest in, right? If
mhm,
I decide to go find 3 other partners with
mhm,
$15,000 each. That's
mhm,
3 different buckets we could invest in, right? And so that
mhm.
means each bucket we're going to be putting 15 grand into that bucket. Then
Okay.
for me to take my 15 grand and just put it all in one bucket, and then if it fails, I'm out of that money, right? So I'm
Mhm,
encouraging people, live together. I know an Asian family have bought a lot of homes together in the West River Road
mhm.
area of Brooklyn Park. That's
Yeah.
the way that people are being economical, right? They own a lot of land now as a family.
Okay.
We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to live under the same roof. Normally, Asian people, they all live on one roof, then they buy the next house. They buy the
Mm,
next car. They buy that next house. They all coming together, right? Or they'll
yeah.
open that business together and we go in Asian business. Who we see working there? Only Asian people working there. Why? Because they're probably a family run business, right? The kids are going to get paid to go to some Ivy League school and do what? Learn business, get a master's and MBA and come back and apply it where to grow that
Mhm,
business to multiple locations. I
mhm.
feel like times of these are an example. We have a blueprint to work with. Let's come together. Let's open those businesses together. I'm always talking about it. Let's do business together, folks.
Okay. Well, Jerry, I'll let you take this one, right? You're one of the entrepreneur here, right? Do you think time like this, right? Is it time where everything's so pricey, everything's so high? Is it a good time to start a business to counter inflation? Is it a good time? Is it a good strategy? I mean,
I feel
Miss
like
B
it's
is saying,
never
right,
a
we
wrong
should put our
time.
resources together. If you can't do it by yourself, is it time like maybe to put the community resources together to maybe start a small business or do something? Is it a good time, Jerry?
Yeah, it's never a wrong time to start a business, honestly. If you look at most of the people that we look up to for business advice and stuff, they always start when things were like during inflation or the market was down or
Mm,
all of those things.
yeah.
So I feel like it's a good time, and that's what I've been doing. Like this week, I think I called like 5 different friends of mine. Just like, okay, guys, how can we pour our money together and see
Mm,
how best we can start something?
okay.
How can we keep our money in our community? Because we deal with the Somalians, we deal with the Ethiopians, and I'm not saying that in the Liberian community. So these are the discussions that I've been having with some of my friends this week, just looking for ways and looking for partners to do something together.
Mm. Okay. I mean, it's like not only like I know, like like in Minnesota, right? It's like the Somalis do it a lot, but I think the African community as a whole, right? I don't think we come together enough, right? To partner. You know what I mean? The partnership thing is not something that we do. The Hispanic do the Hispanic, the Reddit does it well. The Asian, and someone is saying here, folks from East Africa already do it well. But Jay though, why like folks from West Africa, or the Caribbean or wherever, right? Maybe like are we not coming together enough to partner to make sure, man, that we build wealth as a community?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think there's a lot of trust issues. You know,
Trust issues. Okay. Okay.
yeah, I mean, like Miss B and Jury said, it's a lot to find a business. It's so hard. I think one of the hardest things is to find the right partner,
Mm,
somebody to partner in business, because
mm,
the reality is they may not think like you. They may not have the same drive as you, and that's to me that's crucial. Um, you know, and a lot of our people, like you said, the West African community. I think we do have that spirit. We all want to be the same boss. We all want to be, we all have that fire.
mm,
But for the most part, most people think differently.
mm, mm, mm,
I'll give you an example. Say I'm from Ghana, right? And a lot of
mm.
the people, the Ghanaian people that I meet, most of them want to do business in Africa.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
there. They're not in Africa, but they want to do like, come on, and
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
I get it,
yeah.
but and this is, but and here's the thing, you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned the Ethiopians and the Somalians. A lot of them, they have they have their family here from their a lot of their family
Yeah,
trees,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
and
Hmm.
they established that root, and rely on each other. Whereas
Hmm.
a lot of some of these West Africans, we came here, individually, you know what I mean? So we still have a connection back home one way
Hmm.
or another. So we always want to say, oh, okay, it's a developing country over there. So let me, my money can go a long way. And it really doesn't cost much. It costs a lot, but, if you have the right structures in place,
Yeah.
it can go a long way to actually start something back home. The
Yeah.
problem is trust, home, why you sending cars for sale. People are driving their cars, doing their own thing. So there's a whole bunch of things that we get it backwards, right? And I've
Hmm.
been a victim of that to the
Hmm.
point where, okay, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna start, and I wish I had met you guys, early on, Miss B, Jerry, I really appreciate what you guys do. That's
Hmm.
very impressive. One
Hmm.
day I'll come, I'll talk to Abe to come check you guys out and see
Yeah,
what
you part of the
really are.
family now, right? There's the inner
Yeah,
circle family, inner circle podcast family. So you part
I
of the
want to
family,
see.
and then,
I want to see how you guys do it, man. Because
yeah.
the reality is, it's not easy, and you
Hmm.
definitely need somebody you could trust to get on that journey with.
Yeah. Miss B, though, right, to that point, I think it's a topic that we're going to explore here on Inner Circle Podcast about this 1 4 in, 1 4 out. You see a lot of, African immigrants say, hey, man, I want to do business back home, right? They hear it's like 1 4 in, 1 4 out. So sometimes, right, there's no focus. And sometimes when it comes to business, I think business require focus. Where are you? Is that you serving two masters? Where's your focus? Don't you think that is really impacting us, West African immigrant community? And so I know you guys say East African, but I think a lot of the African immigrant community, right? That's a huge issue, right? We want to build back home. We want to do stuff back home. Oh, this I wasn't born in this country. I gotta do the investment there. I gotta build my dream home there. But this is where you live. This is where you have your family. As I said, I know we're going to really deep dive into this at another time. But just to push Jay point a little bit, don't you think that is impacting our ability to really do something good in this great America, in this great United States?
Hugely, hugely, right? So the conversation just needs to look different. You got to tell people there's regulated markets and unregulated markets. The
Mm,
problem with investing in Africa and living in America is that Africa, yes, wealth possibilities is there, but it works for the big kahunas because it's an unregulated market. That's the problem with Africa. There's not a lot of protections in place to protect
mm,
you from those losses and protect your investment, right? When you
mhm,
come to a more regulated market like America, there are protections in place. And I think to Jay's point about being impacted because you got into business with the wrong person is we don't realize the protections that we can put in place when we
mhm,
start to do business with each other, and that's
mm,
what other ethnic groups do, right? they
mhm,
they provide there are a lot of paperwork we
mm,
fail to do because of that cultural norm, that cultural comfort. We all coming from the same homeland. We get comfortable. You take your 5,000, you give it to somebody. No paper trail.
mm,
No, I always advise people you come to me for business technical assistance or consultation. Create a partnership agreement from day one.
mm,
How much you're putting in, how much I'm putting in, right?
mm,
All of
mhm,
these things help you to lessen your loss, right?
mm,
And
mhm,
registering that entity protects your personal assets from
mm,
that business too, right? And so
mm,
you do all those things and put those things in place. It has also established that level of transparency and
mm,
trust within that business partnership. And these are a lot of things that we don't do as
mhm,
African immigrants here in America, right? We just
mhm,
rely on that culture, that
mm,
familiarity we have with each other, and you say, "Oh yeah, my man, I got small money. Go invest it. I will trust you." No, 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 no.
okay.
Don't do that, and that becomes the narrative. And now we can't trust each other, right? One bad apple kind of messes up for any other potential business partnerships. And again, that goes back to why maybe people want to invest in Africa because they feel, okay, if I put something there, I know it's mine.
Mm,
I nobody's going to be able to take it from me. Where
Mm.
here in America, if I own a home or even if I built a home, there's this possibility I have a mortgage on it. The bank can always come and get it, take it from me if I can't afford to pay for it. So it's some of
Mm.
those things that people deal with when they make that decision to invest here or in Africa.
Okay, and then but Jerry though, right? There's this other mindset that oh, there are a lot of money to be made in Africa, right? Oh yeah, Africa has a lot of money. When you see the profit margin is so high. I mean, it's like, what's your take on that? I personally don't believe it, right? As I said, I would like to tell folks, right? The American economy is like I think 25, 29, or 30 trillion. Why would you live a 30 trillion dollar economy with so much
Mhm.
purchasing power and go somewhere where you say, oh, there's money to be made or there's money to be had?
Because people don't understand the economy.
Mm.
They're
Okay.
used to what they know, and that's back home is what they know.
Mm-hmm.
They're not taking the time to understand how business is running being done in the States. And I feel
Okay.
like most of them struggle.
Mm. Okay.
So, for example, somebody be like, okay, I want, and most of the time, so people don't see America as a long-term goal for them. It's just, okay, I just want to work for a few years, and then the goal is to eventually go back home. So
Is
that's
that
where, oh,
is that actually ever possible though, right? Let me push you a little bit because you might come here and
it's
say, oh,
never
maybe
possible.
maybe my
It's
time
never.
frame is 10 years. Before you go, like, you be clocking 30.
Yeah, and they're in their 70, 80s, and they're still telling you that they're going back home, and they're sure they're
Yeah.
going back home.
Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like one thing, and the whole thing again, like I feel like people need to take the time to understand business in general if you want to be like a business person, an entrepreneur, and all that stuff. People just
Mm-hmm.
want to do business. They're not taking the time to educate themselves
Mm-hmm.
to understand how business work. She was saying most of the times the contracts and stuff. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a person reach out to me this week. I'll always use myself as an example.
Oh yeah, that's what you are the best, you are the entrepreneur expert here, right? It's like you the
Yeah.
one you know what I mean? Yeah,
So
so
if you want to
yeah.
do a survey for a home, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think she had a lot of citations and stuff for a home. And
Mm-hmm.
part of my consultation is to do mock survey where I come in and look at all like, okay, where did you go wrong? Where can I make corrections and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
But she's somebody that is the same Liberian thing. So she's like, okay, can you please help me? Like, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm like, okay, I'm going to help you. However, I sent her my contract.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was just something you're just gonna come in and just take a look at my papers. Girl, no. You have to sign it before I come over there. And if
Yeah.
you can sign it, like I'm not doing business with you.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and people don't respect that because they feel okay, you're my friend, you're just supposed to just do stuff with me. And that's not how business works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Miss B, I'll let you take the one from Rebecca, right? So West African have a greater mindset, which is what keeps us stagnant. We don't want to build each other up. It's either one person rises or nobody at all. Everyone wants to take the lead. I mean, I think Jay mentioned this earlier, right? Everyone wants to become a leader. Everyone wants to be the
Yeah,
boss. You know what I mean, Miss B, and
yeah.
then maybe Jay, you can chime in here too.
So yeah, Rebecca, it's unfortunate, right? But the thing is, I people the market is a competitive market for a reason. I always tell people, and my example is Target and Walmart. You will always see them in the same area.
Mm,
And we always worried about, we have this mindset, oh, everybody wants to be an event planner. Stop it. There's enough, there's enough people in the market for everybody to be an event planner. Oh, they all want to have salon now. They want to have that little one chair and now they think they're a salon owner. There is enough. There is enough. The market needs more businesses. Why do you think government invests in job creation? That is the biggest thing. Most city councils, governors, mayors, what have you, any like legislative place, when legislators give money to businesses, job creation, they want more and more. There's no such thing as too many businesses in the market, right? You
mhm,
just have to know how to differentiate yourself,
mhm,
understand your target market, understand your niche, right? Know who your audience is. What is your product? How do you can you differentiate your product or your service on the market so that you
mhm,
can make those sales, right?
mhm,
So
mhm,
it's not a matter of, oh, everybody wants to be a leader. Sometimes I'm hearing it's a matter of, oh, everybody wants to do the same business. There is enough room in the market for all of us to do the same business. Group homes, salons, restaurants. What's another one everybody's doing?
But
Event halls,
yeah,
event planners. there
Yeah.
is enough room in the market for all of us to do these businesses.
Yeah, but Jay, though, right? Instead of everybody trying to get into it and do it by themselves, why if we put our resources together and establish maybe like a West African mall or like an African mall, right? Is that you know what I mean? Where everybody can maybe have something in there, right? Is that what that or maybe like have a African immigrant event center where we all have that folks come and if I rent it, I'm paying back to the community, right? If you rent it, you're paying back to the community. What's about that mindset?
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think it's a good mindset. The,
Mhm,
the the challenge is just coming up with the like-minded people. You know,
mhm, mhm,
um, like Rebecca said, if a lot of people are just so independent thinkers, like they don't want to even um they're always thinking about the back end, right? Where when it comes to how much am I getting again,
mhm,
and how much am I putting in? So it's all about numbers. And I'll piggyback off of what Miss B said. Yeah,
mhm.
everybody can do the same thing. Um, but the question I kind of have is like, shouldn't there be a demand for whatever services you're offering? So then wouldn't that cause a lot of the issues that kind of brought the same topic up for the same reason we're here today
Mhm.
about inflation, where okay, if you know everybody, the demand or the supply, whatever is happening, if everybody is doing the same thing, how do we you know profit
So yeah, I
profit
mean,
off
yeah.
of
So
it,
to your point, I know the point you're trying to get at, Jerry, right? It seems like sometimes in our community, right? There's so much demand but little supply, right? It's
Hmm.
like if we want to do if we want to do maybe the salon thing, right, or the barber shop, sometimes you have four, five, six barber shops, but that much
Yeah.
demand, right? So it becomes
Hmm.
the opposite of it becomes deflation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
becomes
have
the opposite.
you know what I mean? That's deflation, right? You have all of these things. You don't have like a million Liberians in Broken Back to have like a million barber shops or Middle West African, you know what I mean, in Minnesota, right, to have like million barbershops, right? So maybe if we can, as I said, they have the Somalian mall or whatever, if we can pull those resources, but sometimes I think what you are arriving at, Jay, is like we establish everybody want to go into the same thing.
Hmm.
And then is that we have, there's not much supply, but just the demand is like the demand is so high and little supply. I think that's some of the things that we face in our community. But Jerry, I wanted to bring this back to you. I know that the stuff you mentioned, right? The last touch, I want to touch on it quick. As a progressive community, though, how do we address this issue, right? There used to be, I know, is that Miss B, maybe you two can chime in here. There used to be a small business center in BP for immigrant Liberians or Africans or West Africans or whatever. But how can we as a community though, right, address the issue of not knowing the information that is flowing to our community, to our viewers community? Jerry, I'll let you to take that and then Miss B, maybe we can chime in.
I think Miss B has an organization that does this, where they focus on helping business owners, and I feel like that's where people have to do their work. If you wanted to be a business, there are so many resources available to, especially to immigrants
Mm-hmm.
alone. I can give you like 5 or 10 organizations that just focus on immigrant business owners and helping them find fundings and with
Mm-hmm.
marketing and business plan. So if you want to be a business owner, that's where you have to put in the work and do your research. Go on Google.
Mm-hmm.
This organizations to help small business owner. It don't necessarily have to be in Broken Park.
Mm-hmm.
There was one I went to the other day, and I feel like it was a waste of my time, but I
Mm-hmm.
just did it for the networking. And when you go to the class, after you go to the class, they help you do your business plan. They help you with business funding, all that stuff. So people need to put themselves out there and do the research if they really want to do this, or if you really want to be a business owner and look for
Mm-hmm.
these different resources that are available to you, because they are available. It's tons of them here in Minnesota.
Okay. So just to add to that, right, I mean, it's like as we discuss inflation, right, in this time, instead of just depending on the 9 to 5 or on the nursing home or on the triple double, do you think is the best time, right? Maybe to venture into a side hustle or to venture into a business? And do you have to go into it by yourself? But to Rebecca's point here, I mean, it's like sometimes in this country, right? I mean, to establish something or business is very complex. Regulation barriers. You have to jump through so many hoops. And then we'll go back to the African. Some people just say, you know what? I can send my money in Africa. I can get stuff started there today without jumping through too many hoops. I can send it there today. I'll get it started today. What about that,
Well,
Miss
you'll
B?
get it started today, but it's gonna in the next 6 months, you're not gonna have any return. But
Okay.
if you use the same amount of time within the US to like go to these different small business classes, educating yourself and looking for different ways to get funding and trying to find ways to maneuver and navigate all of these barriers, you can get
Mhm.
a business started. It's always about putting in the work and the mindset. I would say the mindset. You have to have the right mindset if you want to be a business owner. There will always be barriers everywhere, even in Liberia.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
everywhere. So it's like,
Okay.
what are you willing to do to get it started?
Okay. Miss B and then J.
So the number one thing I would tell you to do, the very, very first thing, and I'm just gonna be uplifting what my girl Jerry just said.
Mm.
Do your research. I don't care how long you've been baking those cakes. I don't care how long you've been braiding that hair. Just because you can bake cake does not mean you know how to manage and run a restaurant.
Mhm.
Just because you've been braiding hair does not mean you know how to manage and run a beauty salon.
Mhm.
The first thing I say, and I deal with this on a daily basis,
Mhm.
where they've been in the business for 5 years, right?
Mhm.
And they've done so many things wrong because they never came to get help. They never sought or researched where they can go and get help. Us country has what we call a small business administration.
Mhm.
And that small business administration trickles from the federal into each state has a small SBA center.
Mhm.
These SBA centers have women business centers. We have what we call community development financial institutions. These
Mhm.
are all entities that get money from local government and federal government to support small businesses. You know what the
Okay.
definition of a small business is? Anybody who makes 5 million annually or less, I believe, and employs like what, 1,000, 5,000 people. That's considered a small business. Now we have our little one person salon or one person restaurant, and we say we're in business. Really, people, are we really in business? Are we really in business? And so get the necessary help to start off well, start businesses well. That's where, from African Americans to African immigrants, Black people in general in this country, is we start businesses on the wrong foot. We have all these problems, and then we have all these bad things to say about being in business and starting business and too many people in the business. No, 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 no. You started off wrong. Get
Mhm.
as much information and do your research, like Jerry said.
Okay. J though, right? To Walker's point here, so sometimes there's so many school of thought in business. Where some people say, "Oh, do your research, before starting a business." Others suggest, man, stop talking too much and just talking and thinking. Just get to the point and think. Right. But my thing is, right, is that just to add to that a little bit. I think for me, I focus more on. I think what I've observed in America, what make America great, is the strength in numbers. And I don't think we do that enough, right? Forget about the whole research thing and things like that. I think that that's strength in numbers. And we as a immigrant community, especially African immigrant, West African immigrant especially, we do not really focus on the strength in numbers part. But to Walker's point though, you know what I mean? It's like instead of sometimes the research is good, but man, just get to it. Just get right to it. Jay, what's your take on
Find that balance. You
it?
know,
Okay, fine. Now,
you
that's
got
a
to,
good
yeah,
one. That's a good one.
find that
Yeah,
balance,
yeah,
man. You,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
need you need you need to do research, but at some point you need to take action. You know,
Mhm, mhm,
because you could do a lot of planning and a lot of research, but if you don't have that fire, Jerry, Miss B, I really, like I said, you guys are go getters. It appears to be, So
mhm,
this is probably your, you know, it's probably a big topic for you guys to like chime on. But to be honest, if you do all your research and you're not taking action, and if you do all and with all the action and you have no knowledge in it, you'll be running in circles. Um, you, you think you
When you're
know it
doing your
all.
research, that's action in itself.
Mm,
I don't
Yeah,
know why people see the idea of research. It's not like, okay, I'm just reading stuff online. That's not the point.
mm,
The point is to read, okay, how can I start a business? For example, you go and research, how can I start a business? The next step, if you learn how you can start, you go and
hmm
register your business and get your LLC. It's like
okay.
yeah,
doing the research and taking action with what you've learned, not just doing research.
absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. You know, so there's analysis paralysis, right? Sometimes people know too much and they can't even move. They just stuck
mm,
because they know too much.
mm,
So to her point, you know you do your research, but you got to go get it. You know,
mm.
otherwise you're not going anywhere. So find that balance, man.
Okay. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing. I mean, Wednesday is our business segment, right? Our business show, and we got some knowledgeable people, knowledgeable panelists here that be giving us some great information, right? Now, so we have our community would like to run away from money conversation. Cycle podcast. We're not going to do that every Wednesday. Every Wednesday, we're going to make sure, right, we bring money topic here because it is very, very important. That right now, as I said, we are living in an inflationary environment. It is affecting so many of our people, and I think our panelists have seen here today, right? Instead of you just depending on a 9 to 5, that some of us here are working those two, 3 jobs, you can also establish a business, right? You can get into something, and it is never a bad time. And sometimes, to Jerry's point earlier, in a in terms of in bad times or in high inflation time, that's when people find opportunity to establish business. So I think that's what we are discussing here tonight. But we can't take this all long. There's a 1 hour show, and we're already gone like 1 hour 11 minutes. So that we'll just drag it for a few more minutes and wrap it up. So tonight we are discussing inflation impact on our communities. You can put a comment in the chat or call our number 817-600-1525. But Jay, man, as we try to wrap things up here, is like, what are the things we can do, right? I know we immigrants, we are resilient people, right? There's like many things we can take sometimes, right? Like other communities, I think, you know, I mean, native people sometimes can't take that, right? Because, hey, man, whether we lose a job or things, right? We still keep it going. But in these times, right? In these high inflationary times, in these times that it's like times are so hard. How can we, keep that spirit up? Keep grinding, keep hustling to make sure that we don't lose sight of our long-term goal.
That's a very good question.
Mhm.
You know, the way I look at it is if most average people,
Mhm.
have a 9 to 5 job. You
Mhm.
know, they work hard every month. Every year, I guess they get a review and
Mhm.
they get what 3% or 2% raise.
3%,
And
yeah.
those days I'll be like, yeah, I got a 3% raise. But as you grow older, you're like, man, what is this? Like inflation can't even keep up with inflation.
Yeah.
So my advice is invest in yourself.
Mm,
Like that's to me that's the biggest key.
mm,
Find another side hustle. There are
mm,
so many opportunities out there. When I say side hustle, I'm not saying quit your 9 to 5 job, but you can still find a way to get passive income in
mhm,
one way or another. Like educate yourself, seek knowledge, and then and develop your skills that
mhm,
no one can take away from you that
mhm,
way. And I'm not just talking about just a skill set. Find a skills that you can be very good at and accept competition like Miss B said. Everybody's doing the same thing. So what? Just build your skills, be better at it, educate yourself at it, and then um, you will crush the competition. And I believe in that. And if you do that, I think with all this inflation talk, your demand will still be high and
mm.
you come on top of it. So my advice is just educate yourself, build your skill set, and make sure you're great at what you do.
Okay. Miss B, do you think, like, let me just bring another component here that's been hard of the press that is making news about the Trump administration, like imposing tariff on everyone. Do you think, like, folks like us, whether our small businesses who maybe get their African food, right, like, the oriental food from maybe from Asia or from the Caribbean, from Africa, do you think those things are going to get expensive in this new environment? Do you think food
Oh
is going
yeah,
to even be more expensive?
things are things. I mean, he's been in office not even a quarter yet. The end of this month will make it 1 quarter. And yeah, we're already feeling the impact. And like Jerry said, my girl Jerry said here that it's going to get worse before it even gets better, right? You know, I had
Mm-hmm.
this accountant we're in a meeting and he was saying he was having conversations with the FBI and he's like, yeah, it's the economy is going to get worse before it gets any better. And we're already feeling it. So that impact is happening across the board. It's happening in our local economy, in the ethnic economy. It's
Mm-hmm.
happening in our households.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening in our schools. It's happening in the churches. I went to
Right.
church and there's a church struggling to fundraise money right now because things are tight as they're fundraising to, for what is a good cause, things are tight. And the churches are where people go to look for supplement things to supplement their household. Churches
Mm-hmm.
do food shelves,
Mm-hmm.
churches do clothes drives and all those things. So we're feeling it across the board in every sector, in every area of our life. We really are.
Okay. And Jerry, though, as an entrepreneur, right, are there initiatives, that you think folks can be taking right now to mitigate some of those? You say it's going to get worse before it get better. Do you think there are steps that initiative folks can start taking now to maybe, to try to mitigate some of the impacts that's coming our way? Jerry.
Try to find ways to increase your income, whether through a side hustle or a second job, whatever the case may be. I would say that's one way to go about it and just reducing your expenses.
Mm. Okay. I mean, that's half our. I mean, some folks want to go to Jumbo every until the hookup join every
And
every every
please,
weekend. So you telling
please
people
live
to come down.
below
Okay, I
your
want to take the
means.
side hustle part.
Yeah,
Jerry, I
live
want to take
below
the
your
side hustle
means.
part.
Like all
Uh,
Liberian people be doing too much sometimes. Like
oh
just
really? They big doing
trying to
too much,
impress
right?
trying to impress people like nobody cares. Just live below your means and do what makes sense for you.
Okay.
So like one of
Well,
my
anyway,
friends told me she can tell a Liberian person by the car they drive.
and that's what I said earlier, right? I said you go to a group
We always
you go
have
to a
nice
group you
cars.
go to a good home, you go to a group home or to a nursing home, you see the Range Rover Park, you go
Yeah.
to certain apartments, like see a Range Rover, but you say, but okay, what's going on here? But anyway, that's a whole nother topic, But guys, man, it's been a good conversation. That's what our Wednesday segment is about, right? And I know these are difficult conversations for our community. I'm talking about inflation. And say, what are you folks talking about? We'll be talking about money here every Wednesday. So my man Jay, really appreciate you. Jerry, really appreciate you. Miss B, as always. It's like there is a Wednesday crew. So it's been a great conversation. But as we wrap it up, I will start with you, Jay. You the man on the panel tonight. What message you want to leave with folks out there, right? In these inflationary times, I know times are hard, but sometimes when times are hard, man, that's when you find opportunities. What message you want to leave with our listening audience tonight?
Yep, you just took the word right out of my mouth, man. Just a lot of opportunities in these times.
Yeah.
Take it and run with it.
Mm,
Don't feel comfortable. Just
mm.
look around. These are the times that you should be taking advantage of. So just get out there and get it.
Okay. Um, Jerry, what message, but before we go there, I would like each of you guys, I would like each of you guys take this one, right? It's like, I mean, Rebecca is out here tonight, right? Can we talk about how inflation works? Literally, domino effect. Once the economy goes up, everything goes up. Our restaurant, grocery owner have rent and other expenses to pay as well as everyone. Everyone helping to increase the economy. So it's like, hey man, like I always say, right? When prices go, a lot of people sometimes even expecting like, let me just paraphrase it for Rebecca, right? People are expecting for interest rate to even come down. Man, like sometimes like when I read a Wall Street Journal, it said that stuff is not gonna it's never gonna ever come back down to 3%. Lifetime it might not come back ever to 3%. I mean, Jerry and Miss B guys are in real estate, but my experience in this country, when things go up, it don't come down. And folks are expecting that things are gonna come down. So I will do this call with each of and G, I'll start with you quick, right? And then we can move on to the other panelists. But do you think prices are ever going to come back to the way folks are used to seeing it? Jay, real quick.
Yeah, not all the way down. I mean, it was 9% a year and a half ago. Now it's at 3 point something percent.
Hmm.
So I mean, they're still trying to find the sweet spot
Mhm.
to adjust the interest rate to get inflation under control. But
Mhm.
I agree with you. It's not coming down all the way. It's still things are still high, prices are still high. So
Okay.
um, yeah, we're stuck with high prices, man.
Miss B?
Yeah, so I don't think it's gonna come down. I'm used to, I got stuff at 3.75%, 4%,
Mhm.
5%. I miss the good old days. But so what am I going to do as an investor in handling the fact that interest rate is not going to come down? I'm going to take advantage of cheap property in your credit
Mhm.
score, right? So right now, if you have an 800 credit score, they'll drop you at least 1% what the market is. So you got to look for banks that'll give you that good interest rate, right? A lot of lenders are saying if the market is saying 6.5%, with that good interest rate, they'll probably give you a 6% interest rate, maybe as low as 5.7,
So
right? I
that
mean, with
good
that
credit.
good credit
Yeah.
score,
Mhm. But
they'll they'll
a lot of our people in our community do not have good credit score. How they going
and
to I, yeah, you as a business person maybe you have 800, but a lot of people in our community don't even have 500. Then you're talking about
invest. And it can
okay.
go down so quick. Like, at any given time, if I keep too high of a balance on a credit card, I could drop 31, I can go up 31 points, right? And
Mhm.
so it's not consistent, that credit score. So, but what I would say is invest in cleaning up your credit score. It's not the end of the world. Don't be embarrassed. File bankruptcy. I'm never going to tell you to work to pay off a $35,000, $40,000 debt. You're not
Mhm.
helping anybody. You're throwing money into the water, right?
Mhm.
Our president has done it multiple times. File your bankruptcy within a year, your credit will jump back, right? Because for
Mhm.
1 year, you file your bankruptcy, you don't get any credit cards, don't do anything. Once you get back into the game, go and get you what it calls a secure credit card. Go to your bank, put $300 on a credit card, $500 on a credit card, and watch your credit score go up. It's
Mhm.
not the end of the world. Don't be embarrassed. You didn't do things right. You fell into debt. You want to get back in the right. Get back in the race. File that bankruptcy. It's not the end of the world. They don't hold it against you for too long. Clean up your credit the quickest way possible. You're sitting with $40,000 or $50,000 in credit card debt. You're not helping anybody by paying that off. The credit card companies can write that stuff off. They write it off every year anyway. So that's the best advice I'll give you tonight. Say Denise said. Denise said go file bankruptcy. Yes, I said it.
I don't think that's the best financial advice, but hey, if you
As the
if you
best financial advice I can give you.
I
When
don't
is
think
he
that's
going
the
to be making
I don't think
PCA
that's
and
the
home
best
health and
financial
salary and
advice,
pay off
but
a
hey,
$50,000 debt?
hey, if that's what you want to tell folks, But anyway, Jerry, though, right? What message you want to leave with folks tonight as we wrap it up? We gone like 1 hour 20 minutes into this, and then we gotta wrap it up. What message you want to leave with folks, Jerry? What's the message?
I think we said that.
Miss B have already given her message. Say first man go five bankruptcy.
Go file bankruptcy.
I don't want to. I say
It's the
don't go,
best time to do it.
don't do it. That's a bad financial advice. Don't do it. But hey, Jerry, what's the message you want to leave with folks?
I don't have a lot. I don't have anything to say, honestly. I think we
Mm.
said it all.
You follow your mom with that whole see, you follow your mom with that whole bankruptcy stuff, right? So it's
Yes,
like she
go
telling
file
folks,
bankruptcy.
like all of those that going through those inflationary moments and with a high credit card, go for bankruptcy. Don't
Go
do it.
file bankruptcy.
Don't do it. Don't do it, folks. And with,
What?
and with, and with, and with that, that concludes. That's the end of our show tonight. It's been a great show, though, right? This crew might be back on Friday, depending. We'll have a special guest on Friday. Someone for the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis, the February job report. That's gonna be a great conversation, right? The jobs report are coming up on Friday. Our special show is gonna be 5:30 on Friday. So if you can
In
join
a
us, that would be
circle
really, really great.
podcast where
And then tomorrow
hearts
we'll have another
unite,
special guest. Kids. We're gonna be
sharing our
discussing
truths, bringing
toxic
hope to the light.
toxic environment or whatever for kids. But
Community
Inner Cycle
strong,
podcast will tackle
we're never
different topics,
alone.
different issue here. So thanks so much for
Together as
joining us
one,
tonight.
we've
It's been a great show.
created
My
a
man Jay, man,
home.
thank you. As a
So
regular on
join
our
this
Wednesday here, man, your
conversation, let's
knowledge
set
is
the
great.
tone.
And Miss B, as always, it's
In a
been great,
circle
having you
podcast where
telling folks to
laughter
file
is
bankruptcy. I said,
welcome.
folks, don't
File
do it, okay?
bankruptcy.
Don't do it. And with
And
that,
have
good
a
night,
glass
All
of
good
right,
night.
wine.
Good night, folks. See you guys tomorrow. See you
guys. All
guys
right, see
tomorrow.
ya.